Well, uh, thank you for joining us on the Friday for the session on the entrepreneurship. I am not the usual your regular webinar host, but it was internally decided that maybe I host this one for various reasons, right? I mean, Samir had an entrepreneurial ambition. Uh, Shashank, since coming from the industry, it was a natural progression, right? For my story is very different. So it was best felt that maybe I should handle the session and answer few queries on the session, and let's see how it goes from here. Uh, this is basically our story, just spending a couple of minutes on what we do as at Digital Fifth and our story, how we launched and how we started, right? So 2017, I think immediately after Demon, Samir had a small idea, and then that was the genesis of the Digital Fifth, right? He felt that it's now digital is going to explode, and he started. Along the way, I joined in. I'll share my story a little later when we start the actual the session. Along the way, I joined, Shashank joined, and then now we are a 23-member team. We had many firsts, many initiatives that we have done. In the next slide, as I take you through, it will tell you what are our services lines. Some of you, I can see some of the participants have been pretty regular with what we have been doing here. They know and they understand, right, that our services have been, we had many other services. We've been consolidating as we grow. So consulting is our mainstay business. Training is something that we do very regularly, B2C and B2B. Partnerships, again, part of consulting. And as an independent service is something that we do. So these are our three main lines of services. So coming to the main core subject, right? I mean, in funding, things are not happening. Along the same time, we have seen few guys getting becoming unicorns. So I think the number right now stands is anywhere between 100 to 115 unicorns, and probably a similar number in the Sunicorn space, right? Overall, there are 2,200 startups that have been registered with Startup India. So what's the story for the other 1,900? I think that's where, I mean, the genesis of this program is also off late. We have been again seeing a lot of queries, a lot of calls coming to us. I have this idea. Should I become an entrepreneur? Is this the time right now? These are free, what do you call, consulting services that we give on call whenever somebody calls us. But this is a pertinent question that a lot of people have been asking us. So we thought maybe it's time to do a program on this, at the same time also to do a webinar on this. I mean, basic definition, what is an enterprise, entrepreneurship? Somebody was prepared to created a plan, identified a gap in the market, and all of that. I mean, these things stay, and anybody could think and plan for a product either in the B2B space, B2C space, business to business, business to customer, business to government, direct to customer, which is your e-com space. There are a lot of business models that are there. But the question is, how does it start and where does it end? And when do you realize, when do you think is the right time to get into it? How do you plan? How do you scale? I mean, these are some of the questions which we will try to address in this session. So some basic definitions. And I mean, this is something which we picked up as we meet people, something which we Google searched. There are multiple entrepreneurship definitions, right? A scalable startup, somebody, this in our experience we have seen somebody that 30 crore range, and they are cottage industry, but that's the space where they are, right? Small business entrepreneurs, are also there, much smaller, up to 10 CR, 15 CR kind of a thing. Probably, I mean, we go, somewhere in the 2 to 3 million space. What's catching up Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know how much you guys could hear. So I was just saying different types of entrepreneurships, right? I mean, this is something which we see in the market. This is something which we have picked up from our search results and all of that, right? I've seen entrepreneurs who are in the 2 to 3 million zone, growing at at what you call as a Hindu rate of growth in the business side, which is around 7 to 10% per annum. Then we've seen scalable startups, which have good product models, which have raised certain decent funding and are looking to move from cottage to corporate segment. Then there are large company entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who are launching newer product lines and treating that as a proper new, new startup segment. I mean, case in, for example, we used to deal with this company called Othbridge. Now they have the BFSI segment. They're kind of, carved it out as a new entity called Fintel. Then there is technopreneurship. I mean, this is a large example where a lot of technology guys with an entrepreneurship mindset, tech savvy guys who launch something. Two interesting things, two interesting types is the hustler entrepreneurship. The one who keeps launching, keeps doing a lot of stuff. Maybe at times, maybe we also fall as digital people into this space before we consolidate and move from that cottage segment to the corporate segment. But the larger one that's now coming up is the entrepreneurship, which is large corporates, large banks, large entities saying that now the time has come, gone are the days when you have a 50 crore, 100 crore budget, a 50-member team, 100-member team. When somebody with a 10-member team and a 2 crore budget can build a business and a complete new entity, why can't we do that with the same mindset? I think this is where a lot of people, I mean, when we also try to promote our programs, a lot of career professionals come and ask me, why, what do I gain with this, right? So most of our programs are actually aimed at, inculcating this and entrepreneurship mindset into the users. Again, standard definition, who is an entrepreneur, who possesses aptitude, motivation, wants to do something in life, etc., and all of that. Some basic characteristics: energetic, goal-oriented, optimistic, learner, perseverant, all are interconnected, right? I mean, at least we keep talking, me, Samir and Shashank, right? With the last 4.5 years, every Sunday, my other two partners are teaching and I'm kind of trying to promote my next batch. So literally it's a 24/7. We never knew the meaning while we keep saying, right, we are 24/7 executives, but not until we became entrepreneurs, we kind of figured out what exactly it is. Some of the challenges faced, marketing is a huge issue here. Especially, it also depends upon your product lines, right? A B2B company, we find them struggling very, very hard with content marketing, even including people like us, right? I mean, we know how to build content, but is it too much? Is it too little? Are we over pushing the content? Are we under pushing? Is the tone right, tonality right? Again, sometimes we step on the regulatory aspects of it. So are we giving the right message out in the market? Whole lot of stuff. Brand building. I mean, building a brand out of a new entity in a B2C product space is extremely difficult. We have built a brand, but we still, I still get questions, right? What do you guys stand for in the market? That's a question which we keep answering every day. Well, a lot of people who come to us say, oh, we heard about you, we read about you via LinkedIn. Hiring is the biggest challenge any startup would find, right? We have been struggling. We cracked it, to a certain extent because of our vintage now for 6 years, but hiring is a big challenge. Family support, right? I mean, your family should stand by you. You should be, I mean, this is something again that we keep saying, right? You are in that space where your kids are kind of, or in a zone where you can, they can be on their own independent. You have enough savings. 2 years, 3 years with limited or no income shouldn't matter for you, is when you actually get into it. You can't put your family under stress and try to build an enterprise. It's an absolute no, right? Self-doubt. This creeps in every second, every second into my, into our minds, right? Are we doing it the right way? Is this the right thing? Can we do something? Am I the guy? Do I have it with us? Okay, every time our new any of our in a new attempt fails, succeeds halfway through, we always get this, right? And to a certain extent, funding. Funding, if you crack the product, the business, everything is fine. But otherwise, funding is a huge challenge. A lot of people, I mean, yesterday I was having a chat with, if the gentleman was saying, Sreekant, I can put 10 lakhs. Is it good enough? And then can I get an investment on day one? This doesn't happen in the market, right? So there are a lot of issues. Okay. There are a lot of resources that are available for an aspiring entrepreneur. While we cover some, books, there are accelerator incubator programs, we join webinars, reach out to mentors, a lot of people call us, all of that happen, right? But is all of this good enough for anybody to become and decide that I know it's about time for me to become an entrepreneur? Guys, let me know if I'm going too fast, but these are very initial slides. I thought I'll cover it a little faster and then get into the meatier slides a little later. Okay, so some questions, right? I mean, what is, it being an entrepreneur? And there are a lot of definitions. Being an entrepreneur is not, you're not born, you're not made, you need to be young and reckless. At the same time, there is a research which says the successful entrepreneur average age is 45 or 47. Okay. Established firms cannot have entrepreneurial journeys. It's again not correct. Kotak did it with 811. It's all about aptitude and your thought process, right? And again, what is an entrepreneur is based with, buildable qualities and a lot of this stuff, right? No age or personality can dominate in this and that. So let me pause here and I'll tell you how I became an entrepreneur, right? So me and Samir are childhood friends. We go a long way back, right? And one evening in 2017, towards end of 2017 or early 2018, we met in a coffee shop, just exchanging notes, what we are doing, in our personal lives and professional lives. Little did I know that when I walk out of that coffee shop, I will decide to quit and I'll become an entrepreneur. So that's how sometimes your decisions happen, right? It just happens at the spur of the moment and you need to be ready for it. Again, if I look back into my previous slide, did I consult my family? The answer is no. Do I have the ability? I had no clue. I don't come from the banking background. I don't come from any of the technology background. So do I have the right qualities? The answer is no. But few things I had always in mind is, I felt I had enough energy to sustain the stress that this segment is going to give me. I was willing to learn. That's another quality I always had. While some of my partners who are there might disagree with me on that. But yeah, that's a debatable issue, but I trying to learn newer things every day. And I can sell. That's the best part of it, right? So that's a very unique skill set that I bring to the table. And I'll tell you why that is really, really critical when you try to become an entrepreneur and try to build something on your own. I've seen, at least in the last 5 years of my journey, I've seen a lot of startups struggling to sell. After 5 years, they don't have a proper business model, a sellable product properly defined. So these are some of the things that I possess, right? So how do you become an entrepreneur? There is no set answer. You decide. I mean, you decide, and you need to believe at that moment. Self-doubt keeps coming in. It keeps revisiting you every second day, every morning, every afternoon. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. Sorry. No, I didn't move the screen. Is there? I haven't seen it. I think there is some Q&A. Okay. Okay, I think somebody has raised an hand. If there is a question, can you, please go ahead and ask. I think Prashant, do you have a question? You raised your hand.
Hello.
Yeah, Prashant.
Yeah, so I just had this question is that I'm Prashant, I'm PKD Prashant, actually you can call me. I work for a fintech organization as the Chief Global Business Officer at this moment. I also have something around 25 years of experience in the industry. But the point is this, is that when you decided to, that particular evening with Samir, when you decided that you will actually be an entrepreneur and you will jump into the field, was it that you had already been preparing for some time? Because see, we all work in the industry. We do not have enough resources to support, next 2-3 years, right? We do not work that way. Nobody, I think, has got that kind of thing. I mean, some percentage may have, but then most of the people don't have. Now, then that moment that you decided, what really prompted you to take that step? Was not it very kind of a, very risky kind of a game that time you had taken? I mean, this is for my particular curiosity, in the sense that if I have to decide in those moments, then how do I really handle the situations?
So excellent, right? I mean, as I said, I mean, you said you spent 25 years in the industry.
Right.
I worked for 25 years, but this industry is alien to me.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
come from banking background. I don't come from tech background. Tech is only tea for me. I don't know anything beyond that.
Okay.
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 I've been a seller all through my life. I've launched multiple. I've worked in media sales primarily.
Okay.
I
Okay.
helped set up multiple news channels down south. So that's my
Right.
story, right? My only gut was I bring in a unique skill set that will be useful for any new entity.
Right. Right.
Again, I
We all
draw my
do. We all
experience
do
from,
that way.
yeah, again, I draw my experience from my previous experiences. Beyond my initial 5-7 years, I never worked for a large enterprise out of choice. My last large company was Times of India. After that, I always worked in smaller entities because I wanted my own personal freedom, the way I want to work and operate. Okay, so I
Understand.
always had this background of setting up new entities from scratch and scaling them. This is an alien industry for me, but I was geared up for this, and I said, if I can do that, I can do this. Only thing is, learnings will be a little difficult. This is a new industry. You need to learn from the scratch again. But sales as an ability, to sell, in selling as an ability, doesn't change.
Right.
If you
Yes.
know the market, if you know the pulse of the market, you can easily
Right.
handle it.
Agree with you. That point I agree, because I think sales is that a particular kind of a skill, attitude, and drive and all that is fundamentally same for everything that you want to sell to the market, right? Price and value. My question is that I want to cut short this, is that because you have to make a presentations also. My only point was that even Shashank, or I mean, what's your name? I mean, I just kind of got a little bit confused.
Sreekant.
Yeah, Sreekant. Yeah, because I know Shashank and I know Samir. So my point was this: is that when at a particular moment you feel that this is the right time to actually jump into, but what also is important is that you need to have some kind of a backup, right, for the next 1, 2, or 3 years. You have to support your family, and because that bread has to be kind of this thing in the evening, right, for every day. So so jumping into something is obviously is not guaranteed that will get you those kind of revenues coming in, or you'll be able to support. Now, how did you really take that decision at that moment? Because I myself come across this kind of situation moments and many times, and sometimes I feel that, oh my god, I mean, I'm not really prepared, and how do I really jump into this? Because tomorrow the fires in the kitchen has to be burning, right? It has to do that. But how did you do this? Did you prepare for some time, and then that meeting happened, and then you said, fine, this is the moment that I have to jump in?
None. I went to meet my classmates. I didn't go for an opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Samir was your classmate and friend, right?
Yeah. So if you see the last line in the slide, right? I mean, there is risk involved, right? There is a tremendous amount of risk involved. I mean, forget about that. Let me continue, right? I mean, okay, me and Shashank, we joined in 2019 full time, though 2018 I was kind of supporting Samir from outside, and came 2020. Okay,
Right.
we were seeing some traction, and then we said, wow, great. I think 2020 we're going to scale up. And we did sign some good deals early March 2020. Okay. Only to cancel those deals by 22nd March
Okay.
after the COVID.
Right.
Okay. And then again, we all had the same question. Did we do it right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you.
So force majeure, unknown, incidents, unforeseen incidents, lot of things happen, right? But a basic gut call, a basic, one ability on what unique skill set you're building, you're bringing to the table. Is that going to survive for the next 5-7 years? I think that's the gut call that you need to take.
Yes.
Because I mean, since you mentioned that you've been you're a CBO and then you got global exposure and all. I mean, forgive me if I'm offending anybody here, but I've seen a lot of people from large tech companies joining smaller fintechs as sales heads, as global sales head and all, right? And they struggle. Okay, when you are going from large entities, you're talking about $1 million, right? When you come to a startup and then you have product like
it's a different ballgame. It's a different ball.
It's a different framework. But I'm saying, if you're selling APIs at 10 rupees, 20 rupees, how many 10 rupees, 20 rupees will make it $10 million?
Right.
Mindset is different. Your customer is different. You're still talking to the
agreed.
same Bajaj, Aditya Birlas of the world or the Kotaks of the world, but their buying patterns are different now. So do you have that skill set to hold the conversation, nudge them, bring them to the table, get it signed, and have that, the tenacity to hold it and say, okay, I'm still going to make $2 million by end of year 1, 4 by end of year 2, 6 by end of year 3, and then from there it's a quantum jump. You need to have that confidence. So that's why I said, right, if you believe that your skill sets are going to survive for the next 5 years,
I think that is a very valid point. That when we take the jump, we have to be very, confident that next 4 to 5 years, I'm going to be almost on a revenues, or that sustenance has to be there for so many years. Then it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because if for 6 months only we think that we need the support, then I think this may not be the game that we should be in. Anyone should be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, carry on. I just wanted to.
No, that's fine. I mean, the slides are there, but this can be more interactive also, right? This is precisely the reason why Samir and Sreekant said, Sreekant, this is one webinar which you should handle. Not the other variant. This is not. Yeah, Raktim. Good to see you, Chief. Raktim, you raise your hand. Yeah. Raktim, you can ask your question. We have enabled the talking. Can't hear you, Chief. No, Raktim, we can't hear you. But if you have a question, you can type it here. I'll answer it. Yeah, thank you. Salesperson is required. It's a must. And that's what I am. Absolutely, Chief. So let me continue while Raktim types his question. Yeah, so basically a broad level framework, right? I mean, how do you start? So I think in our case, the problem identification or the opportunity identification was done by Samir. But was it still a big idea? Is I think that's what we kept on discussing, right? Between 2017 when he started and 2018 when I joined as an outside support, in 2019 when Shashank came into the picture. All three of us were trying to kind of define, is there a big idea in this problem identification, or I would say an opportunity identification. So that's what we kind of did for almost a year. And then we said, yes, it's time. There there is an opportunity, and there is a big opportunity here, and we should capitalize on it. So that's what we kind of prepared. We thought through multiple business lines. We had our own arguments and disagreements on multiple things, but then that's all co-founders are there for, right? To kind of argue and disagree, agree on few things, and then finally come up in developing a product or defining a product. It could be either which ways. You define the product. Services, for example, is again a different issue, right? How do you launch it? How do you promote it? Especially in the B2B context, where I've seen a lot of people recruiting a B2C marketing person, putting all the eggs in one basket and say, okay, this is how I'm going to launch. And I've seen some of the largest fintechs actually doing Google campaigns to sell an origination product, an LOS product, right? That's not how it works. That's not how it functions, right? So you need to be very, very clear. How do you do the launch thing? And finally, is there a, reviewing and scaling up process is there, but is there a revenue model to it? That's extremely critical to define. Prashant, you again raised your hand. That was the previous one. So anyway, continuing, right? I mean, entrepreneurship, that's what we say is never a linear thing. I mean, as I said, right? We started in 2017, we were growing in 2018, 19 phase, and then suddenly we tumbled with COVID. Post-COVID, we were growing. We again saw, big growth, factor happening immediately after event we did in Feb. But then the market conditions are now suddenly adverse, right? There are a lot of headwinds. So we are not very sure whether we'll see the same growth trajectory this year. These things keep happening. The only mantra that we carry is, it's like, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right? बहुत ठंडा पड़ रहा है तो बहुत मेहनत करते हैं. That's it. Raktim, are you able to speak now? Is this chat enabled? So, I mean, these are some classic examples, right, of how an idea can come and who can launch and who can start. They could be, I mean, I put some different examples here. One is a government thinking about a certain segment in an inclusion space and coming up with a certain product. Airbnb, I've read this story. It's like people were trying to get some bunking space in Washington, DC. They could not get it. That's where this entire, excess capacity putting up on sale kind of an idea came up, and then they built Airbnb. Jupiter, again, ex-banker, career, entrepreneur, again figuring out a new opportunity, and then he started to build a new bank for millennials. Perfios is again a classic example, right? Right product, right time, and with the right, sales techniques, and they captured the market, right? Setu again is a wonderful, product, again, building that complete API stack for ready to build in a BaaS as a platform kind of a thing. Uber, everybody knows. So idea can be anywhere, opportunity can be anywhere. What is very, very critical is, are you spending enough time in the market? Are you talking to people? Do you know what the requirements are within the specific industry segment? And are you, are you able to produce a product that is usable for them? Typically, if you see how we have grown, right, in all our all our training programs are iterative in nature. What we were teaching 4 years back, we don't teach now. Our consulting projects, what we were doing 4 years back, we are not doing right now. We are always constantly, re-evolving, we are, iterating and then trying to bring in newer product lines, newer service segments, as per the requirement of the market. Again, a case in point, right? I mean, 3 years back, there was a lot of this demand for 1 hour, 3 hour consulting, from Samira, Shashank, can you guys tell me, in 3 hours, is it good or bad types, right? We've seen that not happening for the last, in between 2-3 years, but in the last 15 days, at least I can tell you, I got 6 calls. Guys, can you do this? We are now again planning to start our entrepreneurial journey. So can we do it types? So these things keep happening. Opportunities keep coming up, right? How do you scale up, scale down? redefine your, your resource deployment in such a way that you are able to grab these opportunities while your big push, your bigger service lines, your bigger customer push, everything is happening. This is very, very critical for the survival issues also. So again, as I said, right, summing it up, don't actively search for a startup idea, solve a problem. Sometimes it's not a problem, it's an opportunity, right? I mean, typically this is the argument that I have in the industry also. As I said, coming from a different background, is digital trying to solve a problem, or the digital journeys, is capitalizing on an opportunity? You didn't have a internet penetration, mobile penetration 5-7 years back. So while the inclusion has always been a problem, there was no way you could have reached a customer. But now there is an opportunity. Now there is a device through which you can connect with the customer. So the way I would like to put it is not solving a problem. It's actually capitalizing an opportunity, and everybody's running harder and faster. They're trying to see how fast they can come up with newer solutions, better solutions, reach the customer out in the market. And that's where all these new age jargons keep coming up, right? Open banking, neo banking, embedded finance, all of these things is basically there's an opportunity. These problems existed even 50 years back, correct? So technology changes, infrastructure changes, something comes up, in the market that enables you to come up with newer solutions. And are you able to see that opportunity ahead of the others? Or are you the second or third or at best the fifth one in the market? A Me Too product will not work. I mean, I can tell you, this is again a call that I got a couple of weeks back. I used to be part of a marketing automation firm, and we got a feedback from the customers in 2014 for a specific microservice. They took 9 years to launch it. And they're saying, is it now worthwhile for us to launch it because we have solved the problem? You can't solve a problem, or you can't try to capitalize an opportunity after 10 years. It's a no. Again, as Raktim is saying, right, sales is a must. It's your ability. While a lot of people say, I'm from business, I'm from tech, at least in this segment, that's what I've seen is your ability to see through the sales potential of that specific segment has to be bang on. Only then you will be able to really capitalize on the opportunity and become a successful entrepreneur. Without predicting that revenue lines, and then you can't be procrastinating on certain specific opportunity that's there in the market, thinking that, this is how I thought my architecture would be built, and I'm not going to do any changes to it. That's not going to happen. So again, summarizing it, find a product purpose, right? If there is a purpose, there is a market. Brainstorm and discuss on how do you want to build it. Do the SWOT analysis then. Don't do it afterwards. That's the biggest mistake which I've seen is people. I've seen career bankers coming and saying, oh, I identified a problem and I know I'm going to build it. They're like this, okay, I worked in this bank, so I can go back and sell them. It doesn't work. You sitting in the chair on the other side, you sitting and selling them and sitting on the opposite chair, it's not one and the same. You will get 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 5 meetings at the best, but your product will not be sold unless there is a real purpose to it. So do the SWOT analysis, then figure out what is the revenue potential, and then do a profitability analysis, then launch it. If you have the luxury to do it upfront, do it. Otherwise, as I said, 24/7, keep iterating on the fly, on the go, but then you need to do it. It can't be a post facto. It has to be ipso facto. Okay. So basically, as I said, right, we need to build a business use case for whatever you are doing. Vision, mission, everything is fine, right? But finally, there has to be clear-cut goals. What I've seen is, again, heavy dependency on CRM tools in a B2B sales. Unless you are selling it to more than 300, 400 customers at any given point of time, CRM doesn't work. Your hot, cold, warm is not how it works in the market. Customer is hot till when I'm saying customer, an entity is hot eternally till they close down their business. We have closed business after 5 years of chase. in certain cases. And I've done, I've been talking to customers whom I've been interacting since 2012, since I moved to Mumbai. I just did some business with them. It happens. I mean, they could buy your product line 1 or product line 10 or product line 20. Are you ready to invest that time with them? That's very, very critical. Networking is extremely essential there, but I'll come to that later, right? But specific business use case, specific goals are required. Measurable hona chahiye. You need to know what you are doing every day, the delta that you are achieved, what movement has happened in that account. Sending WhatsApp messages is not going to kill you, but if you think, oh, I am not going to do this kind of a follow-up, is not going to work for you. Okay, my colleague has put the feedback form in the chat. If you guys can give us, your feedback, especially for me, it is very, very important, right? This is my first session. This is my first webinar. So yeah, so measurable. And then when you set your targets, be very, very realistic. Put things that you can achieve. This is what we have seen in our 6-year cycle, right? We said, okay, we're going to do 3x, and suddenly pandemic has pulled us back. Then something has pulled us, propelled us, something has pulled us back. So achievable, realistic, and there has to be a time-bound factor to it. It is not an eternal thing. You can't have sales leads. You can't have funnel that says, okay, this is going to happen when it is going to happen types. I'm in talks with them. It doesn't work out. So, this is another critical factor, right? I mean, in what type of product are you launching? So, I mean, when I say physical product, look at it like something like a POS machines or ATM devices kind of a thing. In our industry, digital goods and services, it could be anything, any product which is SaaS product or anything, or typical services like what we do or any IT firm does, right? I mean, mine is consulting, it's all services. So you need to have a clear understanding of how this particular segment works. Hey, thanks, Prashant. Thanks for that comment. Okay, so you need to be very, very clear on what you are selling, what is that product life cycle, how it is bought and sold in the market. It's very, very critical. Understand some of the times you are a Me Too product, so it is you are playing in a replacement market. You are not playing in an original market. So you need to have that kind of a storyline to engage with your customers and then take it to the finishing line. Again, as I said, referring from my previous slide, what I said, right? CRM, what? Hot, warm, cold. It is warm till the customer picks your call and then suddenly you say, oh, he's not taking up my call. That's not acceptable anywhere in any organization, especially for a startup. If you don't have the storyline to go back to him again, second time, third time, and then continue that relationship till you reach the finishing line, it's not going to work out. Digital goods, SaaS platforms, again, chances are you are again playing in the replacement market unless you got a brilliant idea which is very, very original. In that case, you're bang on like how Perfios did it when a couple of years back, or how a Paytm did it, right? When they launched the wallet thing, any UPI, and they were the first one, or the phone pay guys. When they started UPI net, right? I mean, these are all the classic examples. When the right product, right time, you're going to get it. You're going to kill the market. But otherwise, you're always in a Me Too market. Please understand that, right? I mean, a lot of people I keep hearing, okay, I have very unique, my journeys are better than others. It is never the case. Okay. Understand, in a BFSI environment, good 80% of infrastructure they already have. They're evaluating a product and they probably would require a 20% component of it. Are you willing to deploy it and then make a business from that angle? I mean, you start with the 20% and then see how you can get the 100%. You need to be ready with all these kind of answers. I've seen many cases where people walking out, let me come back to you. You're not coming back to the customer. Customer is coming back to you, right? So in that sense, if you're a founder, my advice is you start selling it on your own. Don't try to have a sales force. When you are a founder, you need to do the sales. And that's where you will actually capture the market. Services business is very, very difficult to push, especially because most of the services are actually customer demanded, not that you're trying to push and do it. So you need to have a different type of a storytelling. That's where I think Raktim was mentioning on the chat, which you guys, I'm sure you could see that. But that's where, that's where we try to, do our own marketing, right? Be there on LinkedIn. Keep talking about the subject. So yourself as thought leaders in a way that people are actually going to come back to you and ask for what you are doing. That's the best way of doing it. Any questions so far? Raktim or anybody else? Yeah, Raktim.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Raktim. Great.
Okay, great. So thanks, Shrikant. Yeah, see, Shrikant, the what I have realized, and you can confirm what I realized for the successful thing, entrepreneur, you actually first require a sales guy. Okay. Second, you require a good sales guy along with a networking guy who can create content, and the third is execution, and fourth maybe the idea. Because what I'm realizing is that in many cases your idea may not be unique. You may not be the first guy, be it a Facebook or so because many times people do the mistake of that, okay, I have got this idea and because I can create it and that's why it will sell. It doesn't work it out. That's what my reading is, and you can confirm. You, as I said, you surely first require a sales guy, networking guy, and the execution guy, because many people have ideas but they are not able to execute. Simple. So fantastic idea but not able to execute, sorry. And then no, what I was trying to say, is this understanding correct? Because the uh, guy having the idea maybe the last guy who should become entrepreneur if you are that much only.
No, so Chief,
uh,
if you hear me, if you recollect my last 3-4 lines now, in
yeah.
the initial phase, the founder has to be the sales guy because idea is
Hmm.
germinated in your mind. You know, you have the passion for it. You can articulate it the best. What happens is invariably these guys are so senior, I know, in their professional life, they don't want to do that frontline sales, which is a
Hmm.
dangerous
Hmm.
trend. I,
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
you see us, right? All three of us, we are there in the
Hmm.
market. I mean, you can't say, "Ki, I will hire a sales guy." They can't
Hmm. Hmm.
articulate your thought process. Impossible. Product
Okay,
आपके
okay.
दिमाग में आया ना sir?
Yeah, yeah, that.
Content भी
But
आपने
I
लिख के
think you are
initially.
right. They they just go and building the product without selling or whatever, because you have to, whatever the excitement is there in your mind and heart, that you have to push it with the customer prospect or whatever. If you don't do that field part, then yeah, keep on building in the lab and that's all. So yeah,
Correct.
okay, it varies.
So again, if you connect the dots now, I mean, I mean, you send a sales guy, the customer asks something, he says, let me get back to you, right? But imagine, understand this, there is another guy sitting outside in the lounge who's going to sell the same product to him from a different company. Okay. And he is a founder, he takes a call, yes, this is done. Then you getting back doesn't work for you, right? So the decision-making capabilities and you leading it for the initial years is very, very critical.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and then there are a lot of this entrepreneur landscape. Maybe there are a lot of other things that you require. Sometimes the questions gets asked, right? I mean, oh, do you have this facility? Where do you put this? Who can you do it? I know what are your your relationship with the banks? How you can do it? Is there an insurance? I mean, I'm telling you, typically, I was one of the large networks. I will not name it, but there are only so many, right? We were signing a contract with them and they asked us to execute a $250,000 insurance contract because that's their global requirement. And I told him, boss, what I'm selling you is hardly, I don't know, 1/1000 of it or whatever is that, right? So I said, so you need to fight it out, right? I mean, these are some of the things which as a founder, only you can read through it. You can fight for it and get it done. You can't leave it
Okay.
on others.
Okay, and one more thing. See,
Yeah.
though, of course, you people have seen the journey before COVID, after COVID, and let's say last 5 years when the lot of, at least in the India, technology and the digital thing is evolving. Any specific thing which you have seen, or I'm saying contextualized to India that way, if somebody else is starting, what he need to be cautious about in India? Because to be honest, some year back we were all in the awe of big four and all. In fact, with Samir also, I had the discussion that why somebody will come to digital fifth, and I think he was quite convinced that because this is the Indian thing with the Indian context. So, but apart from that, have you now seen the respect for Indian entrepreneurs going up with the prospect customer in the over the 5 years, or anything if you can touch upon? Yeah.
There are many, right? I mean, there are many. I mean, the very fact that 100 of them have become unicorns. uh, is a testimony in itself, right? That there is enough opportunity in the market. Uh, but coming to your first part of the question, what somebody should be wary of is ki it's a tough journey. It's the sales cycles, we fix our own sales cycles in the mind, right? Ki, in 3 months, I'm going to capture it. I mean, I forget about sales cycle. I think I've said enough of sales, right? Product development. Okay. Somebody says in 2 months time, I'm ready. And after 8 months also they're in the same space for various reasons. Okay. So somewhere you need to have very tight control. I mean, that's why I said it's literally 24/7. You can't have your product development slipping out. You can't have your marketing slipping out of your hand. You can't have your sales slipping out of your hand. Networking is definitely something that I need to show that energy. I mean, we've done Sunday, somebody would call us, when we go out, right? I can't say, and I keep hearing this, oh, we are Saturday and Sunday, we are off. Typical BFSI senior executives answer, it doesn't work in an entrepreneur's life. Uh, if you are lucky and you got that call, grab it. Go on Sunday and do the meeting, because that is very, very critical. Again, the second factor, especially when it comes to India, is you launch something, there is enough talent pool in the market that somebody could copy and come with a fantastic, second version of it within months. They might be underpricing you also. So be ready for that competition. That's second very, very critical factor, right? Price wars will happen in this market. Till you are able to, in a Me Too market, till you are able to establish your own niche, you need to define your own why you should be the preferred partner for service excellence, of a product excellence. You need to, be on your toes and be wary of what are these challenges that are going to come up. You need to have that, I won't say deep pockets, but you need to have buffers built up for that price wars and be ready for that revenue dips if it happens, to make a search forward, but you can't allow opportunities to go out. These are some of the very, very critical things in the market.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I mean, I think one of the very critical things, again, back to the presentation, is rising capital, right? And again, as I said yesterday, speaking to someone, how do you start, right? I mean, where does the money come from? It usually comes from friends, families, and your close network. That's how you start. Unless you've done already something, you have established something, and you already set up, right? I mean, a lot of people who plan this, for coming from large enterprises, they're planning something, the build is already happening in the sideways. And then, you've done some settings in, put some settings in place, and then you venture out. But otherwise you quit and then you suddenly start planning something. The money will come from here. You can't say I'm sitting on a 15 lakh rupees or a 50 lakh rupees corpus, and then suddenly can I get a funding of $2 million, $3 million, just because and I have an idea. A lot of people think that if they go to fund, for funding, they will get it. It's literally not easy to come for, basically, and especially in the current situation. 4 years back when I came into this segment, it was, I think, still a lot easier, right? Then a lot of these VCs were willing to experiment. Not anymore. Not anymore. They are wizened up. They know what works, what doesn't. They are not doing that. Okay, chasing. Okay, everybody's getting into BNPL, so I also should have a BNPL in my portfolio. They are now becoming very niche. That I'm going to invest in a certain segment. Somebody else might find some other segment which is very niche. So one needs to be very wary of it. Very, very careful of this, right? So funding has to be from your own pocket, from friends, families. Till you hit, again, their networking comes very, very critical, becomes very, very critical. And then you find an angel investor or somebody who believes in you, gives you that seed fund or an angel funding. And as you grow in your revenue pipeline, you will then start borrowing, right? I mean, borrowings could be or loans, right? For example, loans and funding could be basis your revenue projections. So that's the second source, but that comes later. Most of the people, whom we have seen is basically coming into the segment thinking, okay, I'll get a loan or I'll get some funding. Difficult to come. Some of the very, very critical factors where we have seen a lot of companies growing, not growing is some few legal issues. They kind of leave it as a loose end, right? Like for your example, your legal entity, trademarking, and then, the commercial goodwill of the business, how you're going to put your contracts out in the market, how do you advertise that, how do you promote that, man, a lot of times you step on somebody else's toe, and then it comes back to you. This is one aspect. I mean, if you club with the second aspect, right, all co-founders should have a comprehensive operating agreement, unless you have extreme levels of faith. I mean, trust me, the way we operated till last year, it was still a sole proprietor concern, but we had extreme levels of faith between the three of us. Till we said, okay, now we are scaling up, we need to have a proper structure, and we became private limited entity. But otherwise, where a lot of entities fall apart, even though they have a very niche product services, they don't have proper co-founders agreements. This is very, very clear, very, very essential. Then again, employee agreements and contracts. A lot of people falter on this. They think HR is not required, upfront. We can do it later. That doesn't work. Your employee agreements, your terms of employment, reporting structures, everything has to be very, very clear. And again, Raktim, here again, the trend that we have seen, at least post-pandemic, is people saying, can I work from home, right? I mean, if you don't put the reporting structures, all of that, they kind of take you for a ride. And they're moonlighting also, right? They're doing double works here and there. So a lot of things, can actually derail you. So you need to be very, very wary of these things, right? Your NDA agreements. And we have seen such difficult documents coming, in front of us. I mean, somebody is asking us, if there is a dispute, can Southeast Asia be the jurisdiction? How can I go there? I'm just doing some service delivery out of here, right? Why should I be there? They don't want to accept that India is a jurisdiction. You need to be very, very clear of what you are signing. And some of the times, if you sign and then you deliver something, your payment structures, you need to protect them, right? How do you do all of that? I mean, these are the places where people falter. So, and I've seen a couple of guys, at least with strong, contracts on hand, services delivered, goods delivered, not getting paid. And then they got into this, the cash flow issues, and then they close on the shop. So these are very, very important. Any further questions? I think we are in the last 4 or 5 minutes. So any further questions on this? Prashant, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just had one question. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sreekant, I just thought is that while you start new into the entrepreneurial journey, while obviously client and product and delivery becomes a very important critical functions, those other functions that are also equally important, but can probably you can take some time to build it up. Something like HR as well as legal and maybe to a certain extent some kind of a finance. So all those three primarily, and maybe something more, can those services be kept out of the core functional organizations build up at the initial stage? That what you can do is that these functions can actually be subcontracted to somebody else who probably does in a better way and probably can do in a more optimum cost perspective as well. So can that be done? Is that the right way to think about while you're setting up the growth of the organizations? I just wanted to know, because you said while this is this thing, but then HR and then legal, and these are also very critical functions. Obviously, it is critical, but while building the growth trajectory, and when we are actually getting first the listing with the clients and others, so can those functions be actually taken into the second stage of primary focus and then can actually be subcontracted?
It can be. We have done it, right? But then again, as I said, it's a 24/7 job. Devote your Sundays to reviewing what your partners are doing. Okay. It is very, very critical, because the passion or the challenge that you have, others won't tell you, right? I mean, if the HR, say I'm hiring, right? I'm hiring on a regular basis. I chase more than my, at times my any other HR partners, because for me it is very, very critical for that person to join. Okay. Your finance, your accounts, your payables and your receivables. You come with this mindset, ki, boss, I should not owe anybody beyond a certain time. Does your customers think like that? Do they pay you on time? Are you having NPAs? Is your finance outsourcing partner reporting that to you on a fortnightly basis? That there is an issue here. Only you can spot it, right? Why this has not come beyond 60 days, beyond 90 days. These are the things which are very, very critical. So as I said, 24/7, you need to have abundant energy to track it. You can outsource it. These are the functions that you can outsource it. I mean, because your core is business, core is marketing, core is product development and tech guys resources, right?
Right.
Especially in the digital part of the world that where we are dabbling. Okay. You can outsource it, but then you need to be very, very careful. You need to have that review mechanisms, and you should have equally distributed the responsibilities among your partners, senior employees. You review this, I review this, but there's a proper accountability to it. Otherwise, there are a lot of slips that happen. But the answer is yes, you can do it with checks and balances.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other question, guys? I come to the end of the presentation. I mean, just to tell you that we are running a program on entrepreneurship that starts on June 4th. Anybody interested, please let us know. I can tell you, I mean, especially in the program, what we are going to delve a little more is on, how do you plan for an MVP? How do you define the product cycles? I mean, some of the very critical things that I have defined now, how you do that. How do you go out, when you're going for funding, how do you, read a term sheet? How do you do a pitch presentation and all of that? But that said, happy to answer any questions from anybody in the, in the group. Somebody has put a message. And guys, please share your feedback. Yeah, Prashant.
Yeah, so Sreekant, is that so I will probably come and have a separate discussions with you and Sameer and others. So
Yeah.
how I can probably be part of that next cohort that you are doing, but that is what I'll discuss separately if I can be part of that program as well. But
Sure. Fine.
yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Ravi is asking, will this deck be shared also? Yeah, sure. I mean, just fill in the feedback form, and all those who fill the feedback form will get the deck, and also the modules, everything will be shared with you. Anybody else? Any other question? I mean, actually, we have come to the end of the presentation. And we have also exhausted that 1 hour. If there's anything else, I'm happy to answer. I'm here. Otherwise, we are done. Thank you, guys.
Sreekant, it was a great presentation. So I look forward to talk to you, and then just
Sure.
take it whatever base
Done.
is possible. Yep.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you have done very well. Let me give you that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
That
yes.
helps. Thank you.
It is good to know many things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.